students, today we will be discussing with a new chapter excretory products and their elimination. Previously we have studied about digestion and absorption, breathing and exchange of gases, body fluids and circulation. Now excretory products and their elimination. What is a caption? Excretion is the good riddance. It is a good riddance and homeostasis. Homeostasis. What is meant by good riddance? You know, riddance means getting rid. Getting rid of unwanted substances. Getting rid of unwanted substances. Right? So, the unwanted substances are the waste materials, are the nitrogenous products produced by the cells during metabolism, must be eliminated. They must be getting rid out from the body. They must be getting rid out from the body. We come to homeostasis. What is meant by homeostasis? This is not a new word. You are so familiar with this word, homeostasis, which means maintenance of a constant internal environment. Maintenance of constant internal environment. In what way? For example, water balance, salt balance, water balance and salt balance. So, the kidney play a very important role in the maintenance of homeostasis of the body. Very important point. Which organ helps in homeostasis of the body, maintenance of the homeostasis? Kidney, right? Yeah, this is about capsule. Now, what is meant by excretion? The elimination of nitrogenous and other waste materials from the body. The elimination of nitrogenous wastes. Elimination of nitrogenous compounds. Nitrogenous and other wastes is called as excretion. Right? Kidney play a very important role in excretion. Kidney play important role in excretion. Right? Kidney not only play a role in excretion, it play very important role in some other aspects, like it helps in osmoregulation, water balance and salt balance, and it helps in filtration of blood. Filtration of blood. So, the blood is going to the kidney to get rid of unwanted substances. So, filtering of blood or filtration of blood takes place in the kidney. During filtration, the waste materials are separated from the body, from the blood, right? Next, it also maintains pH of body fluids. pH of body fluids by excreting H plus ions. By excreting H plus ions, it also play important role in maintenance of pH of the body fluids. Body fluids nothing but blood, right? So, when the H plus ion concentration increases, the pH decreases, and when the H plus ion concentration decreases, the pH increases. So, by excreting H plus ions, it maintaining pH of body fluids, right? And the kidneys eliminate nitrogenous substances. Kidneys eliminate nitrogenous wastes along with water, water. Water plays very important role in carrying out of metabolic activities. Without water, no metabolic activity takes place properly, right? Mostly the metabolic activities occurs in the presence of water. So the nitrogenous substances are eliminated by the kidney along with the water. Water is the very important constituent of protoplasm. Protoplasm is the living substance. It is the living substance, right? Water is very important for the survival of living organisms. Without water, organisms cannot survive. Dehydration kills a person much faster than lack of food. Dehydration kills a person much faster than lack of food, right? From which substances nitrogenous wastes are produced? Metabolism of proteins. Metabolism of proteins and nucleic acids. Nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. DNA and RNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid. In these nucleic acids, nitrogen bases are present, particularly purines and pyrimidines. Metabolism of proteins and nucleic acids are going to produce nitrogenous wastes like ammonia, urea and uric acid. Ammonia, urea and uric acid. These are the chief nitrogenous substances produced by various kinds of living organisms, right? The nature of production of nitrogenous wastes, right? The nature of production of nitrogenous wastes and their excretion vary among various organisms, mainly depending on availability of water. Particularly based on the habitat which is based on availability of water. So once again I am repeating, the nature of production of nitrogenous wastes and their elimination mainly depends on habitat of the organisms, which is mainly depends on availability of water. If more water is available in their habitat, they excrete ammonia. If less water is available, in such conditions, animals excrete urea and uric acid. Ammonia excreted mostly by the aquatic animals. Right? And urea and uric acid are excreted by the terrestrial animals. During metabolism of proteins and nucleic acids, ammonia is produced. Ammonia is produced in the liver. Now, depending on the need, the ammonia is converted either to urea or to uric acid, right? But metabolism of proteins and nucleic acids takes place in the liver. During metabolism, ammonia is produced. Ammonia is converted either into urea or uric acid, right? Why the aquatic animals excrete ammonia as a chief nitrogenous substance? Because they can afford to lose more water. More water or plenty of water is available to these animals, so they can afford to lose more water. The reason is ammonia is readily soluble in water. I will tell you later. Next, not only these three substances, animals also produces some of the animals produces uricase enzyme, but except ape and man, and the remaining mammals produces uricase enzyme. This uricase enzyme produced by the liver This uricase enzyme converts uric acid into allantoin. This uric acid is ultimately converted into allantoin. It is the nitrogenous product, right? And some of the animals produces amino acid. Some of the animals excrete amino acids as a chief nitrogenous substance. Such animals are called as aminotelic animals. Aminotelic animals. Example for aminotelic, Asterias. You know Asterias and Unio. Asterias is a echinoderm, starfish. Unio, it is a freshwater mussel. It belongs to phylum Mollusca. Asterias and Unio are the examples for aminotelic animals, right? And some other nitrogenous wastes like xanthines. Xanthines are produced during metabolism of nucleic acids or nucleotides. What is a nucleotide? Nucleotide, it is a combination of pentose sugar, nitrogen bases and phosphate. You already known very well about nucleic acids and nucleotides also. So, xanthines are the waste materials produced during the metabolism of nucleotides. Examples for xanthines. You know spiders. Example. Spiders and penguins. Spiders and penguins. Guanines. Guanines also a kind of nitrogenous wastes produced during purine metabolism. Purine metabolism. Example, which animals produces guanine? Again spiders. Spiders and some birds. Spiders and some birds. Right. And TMAO. TMAO, trimethyl amino oxide. Trimethyl amino oxide, TMAO. It is the nitrogenous product produced by marine teleostae. Marine teleostae fishes, bony fishes, saltwater fishes. Right. Next, hippuric acid. Hippuric acid also produced by the mammals in small quantity. Hippuric acid produced by the mammals in small quantity from fat metabolism. Fat metabolism. Right. Example, mammals. Example, mammals. And the next one is creatinine. Creatinine also a kind of nitrogenous product produced by the mammals like man. You know, there are two sources of creatinine for us. One is diet. Second one is it is synthesized by the liver 2. Synthesized by the liver 2 and the second source is diet. This creatinine present in the form of phosphocreatinine. Phosphocreatinine. We have studied this word. We have learnt this word in first year as a unit 2 structural organization in animals lesson, particularly in the muscular tissue. Phosphocreatinine. It is a Majel phosphogen. It is a Majel phosphogen stored in the muscles. Stored in muscles, muscle phosphogen. What is a phosphocreatinine? Phosphocreatinine acts as a source of ATP. It acts as source of ATP during muscle contraction. During muscle contraction, the ATP is immediately converted into ADP. Again, that ADP becomes into ATP by taking a phosphate from phosphocreatinine, right? So, the phosphate present in the phosphocreatine is transferred to the ADP to form ATP. Now, the creatine is excreted out. The creatine is excreted out like this. Creatinine is the actual nitrogenous product eliminated by the kidney because it is a threshold substance. No reabsorption of creatinine while passing through the nephron. While passing through the nephron, no creatinine is reabsorbed because it is a threshold substance. It must be eliminated from the body. You know, accumulation of creatinine in the body may indicate kidney failure. You remember, accumulation of creatinine in the body may indicate failure of kidney because kidney continuously eliminating phosphocreatinine from the creatinine from the body, right? Yeah, these are the various kinds of nitrogenous products in different kinds of animals. The nature of nitrogenous waste materials and their excretion vary among different animals depending on their habitat. Now, mode of excretion. Mode of excretion. Animals cannot excrete free nitrogen. They cannot excrete free nitrogen, but they can excrete nitrogen in the form of nitrogenous wastes. Nitrogenous wastes. The nitrogen, it is a component of ammonia. So, during nitrogen metabolism, ammonia is produced in the liver. That ammonia is either converted into urea or uric acid depending on the need of the animals, right? So, ammonia is a primary nitrogenous product. It is a chief nitrogenous product produced due to the metabolism of purines and pyrimidines. Purines and pyrimidines, right? Yeah. Let us start with ammonotelism. What is ammonotelism? The excretion of nitrogenous substance, particularly ammonia. Excretion of ammonia as a chief nitrogenous substance. Excretion of ammonia as a chief nitrogenous substance is called as ammonotelism. Such animals are called as ammonotelic. Ammonotelic animals. Ammonia is produced by oxidative deamination. It is produced by the oxidative deamination process in the liver of vertebrates. In the liver of vertebrates. So, ammonia is produced by the oxidative deamination process in the liver of vertebrates. What is deamination? Removal of amino group. Removal of amino group from amino acid. From amino acid is called as removal of amino group from amino acid and which readily combines with H plus ions and forms the NH4 ammonium ions. Ammonium ions. You know, fishes excrete ammonia as ammonium ions NH4 in the form of NH4. Fishes excrete ammonia in the form of ammonium ions, right? But you remember the ammonia is excreted either through the body surface, through the body surface or through the gill surface, You know, many lower invertebrates, many lower aquatic invertebrates excrete ammonia through their general body surface by a process called as simple diffusion. Simple diffusion. Now, simple diffusion is a passive process, elimination of a movement of substances from higher concentration to lower concentrations, right? So, lower invertebrates excrete ammonia through their general body surface, and fishes excrete ammonia through their gill surface. But you remember, as per NCERT, kidney do not play any significant role in the elimination of ammonia. Remember, kidney do not play any role, any significant role in the elimination of ammonia. In the elimination of ammonia, kidneys, right? So, most of the ammonia going either through the body surface or through the gill surface, right? So, the animals which excreting ammonia as a chief nitrogenous substance are named as ammonotelic animals. Such method is ammonotelism, right? Ammonia is produced by the oxidative deamination. Deamination is a process in which a amino group is separated from the amino acid. Now, that amino group readily combines with what is that? H plus ions and forms the NH4. NH4 means amino ion. Fishes mainly excrete ammonia as ammonium ions, and remaining animals excrete ammonia only directly through their body surface, right? Ammonia is readily soluble in water. Readily soluble in water, right? Readily soluble in water. So, once the ammonia is produced, which can be immediately eliminated from the body, because aquatic animals only can excrete ammonia, they can afford to lose more water. So, ammonia is eliminated as soon as they produced in the body along with more amount of water, and no energy is spent. No energy is spent to excrete ammonia because it is readily soluble in water. It is highly soluble in water, and one more important point, it is highly toxic nitrogenous substance. Highly toxic nitrogenous substance. Highly toxic, readily soluble in water, right? And this is about ammonotelism. Now, ureotelism. Terrestrial animals are necessitated to produce either urea or uric acid. The reason is, for them, availability of water is very less. As the scarcity of water is there, the terrestrial animals are necessitated to produce either urea or uric acid. The animals which excrete urea as a chief nitrogenous substance are named as ureotelic animals. Ureotelic animals, right? The urea is produced by one metabolic cycle, that is ornithine cycle. Ornithine cycle. The ornithine cycle nothing but urea cycle. This ornithine cycle takes place in the liver of vertebrates. liver of vertebrates, ornithine cycle. So during the formation of urea, ammonia is combined with carbon dioxide and produce urea. Two molecules of NH3, carbon dioxide, by arginase enzyme. By arginase enzyme converted into NH2 plus water. This is ornithine cycle. Two molecules of ammonia combined with carbon dioxide and produces urea. This is urea formula. But urea is produced by which cycle? Ornithine cycle. Where does it takes place? In the liver of vertebrates. What would happen during ornithine cycle? During ornithine cycle, ammonia is converted into urea. Ammonia is converted into urea because the ureotelic animals are terrestrial animals. So the ureotelism condition is seen in terrestrial habitat. It is seen in terrestrial habitat. Right. Now we are going to discuss about ornithine cycle. Right. Now I am going to explain ornithine cycle. Ornithine cycle, also named as Krebs Encelade cycle. Krebs Encelade cycle. This ornithine cycle is also named as a urea cycle. So urea synthesis is a biochemical aspect of excretion. Urea synthesis is a biochemical aspect, right? There are 5 steps in the ornithine cycle. Briefly, I will explain. During first step, carbamoyl phosphate is produced by the combination of ammonia, carbon dioxide and ATP, right? In the second step, the carbamoyl phosphate combines with ornithine and produces citrulline. In the third step, the citrulline combines with aspartic acid and produces argininosuccinic acid. In the fourth step, the argininosuccinic acid splits into fumaric acid and arginine. Now the arginine amino acid, arginine is amino acid, which hydrolyzed and produce urea by using arginase enzyme. So arginine is hydrolyzed by using water to produce urea and again ornithine. That ornithine again enters into the new urea cycle. Now I will explain all these 5 steps by using a cycle. This is mitochondria. You know, the urea cycle occurs in the hepatocytes of liver, hepatocytes. So most of the urea cycle takes place in the mitochondrial matrix and the remaining portion takes place in the cytoplasm or cytosol. So this cycle occurs in the hepatocytes of liver. Hepatocytes are the cells of liver, right? In the first step, amino acid is converted into glutamate by transamination process. What is a transamination process? It is a process in which amino group of one amino acid is transferred to the another amino acid. The amino group of one amino acid is transferred to the another amino acid. You know, glutamate is produced from a amino acid. Which kind of amino acid it is? This is alpha ketoglutarate. Alpha ketoglutarate. Right? So, by transamination process, glutamate is produced or glutamic acid. Now, this glutamate enters into mitochondrial matrix. Mitochondrial matrix where it splits into alpha ketoglutamate. Alpha ketoglutamate. Alpha ketoglutamate. Right. Now, alpha ketoglutamate and NH4 ammonium ions. Ammonium ions. Now, ammonia readily combines with HCO3 minus ATP. HCO3 minus ATP. Now, here you should remember the HCO3 minus is a source of carbon dioxide. In the beginning, I told you ammonia combines with carbon dioxide in the production of urea. HCO3 minus acts as source of carbon dioxide. Then it split into here 2 ATP, remember 2 ATP, 2 ADP, H plus ions and inorganic phosphate. Inorganic phosphate, like this is converted. Now, the ammonium ions, by taking a carbon dioxide from the HCO3 minus, converted into carbamoyl phosphate. Carbamoyl phosphate. Now, the carbamoyl phosphate, look at the diagram carefully. This is ornithine amino acid. This carbamoyl phosphate readily combines with ornithine amino acid in the mitochondrial matrix and converted into citrulline. Converted into citrulline. You know, this cycle was not given in NCERT or in state also. I am giving you as additional information to understand clearly about ornithine cycle. So, ornithine enters into the mitochondrial matrix, readily combines with the carbamoyl phosphate and produces citrulline. Right? Now, the citrulline escapes into cytosol. This is called cytosol, means cytoplasm of liver cells. This is mitochondrial. Mitochondrial. Now, ornithine enters into the mitochondrial matrix, combines with the carbamoyl phosphate and produces a citrulline. But you know, this reaction is catalyzed by an enzyme, that is ornithine transcarbamylase. Yeah, readily catalyzed by the ornithine transcarbamylase enzyme. Now, the citrulline escapes into cytosol. Right, in the cytosol. Again, amino acid converted into glutamate by transamination process as like first step. Transamination process, and it is converted into aspartate or aspartic acid. Now, the aspartate combines with what is this? Citrulline, and forms the argininosuccinate. Argininosuccinate. Now, this argininosuccinate, but during the formation of argininosuccinate, one enzyme is participated, that is argininosuccinate synthetase. argininosuccinate synthetase enzyme. Synthetase. In this reaction, one ATP molecule is utilized. One ATP molecule is utilized. This ATP molecule is converted into adenosine monophosphate and two inorganic phosphates. Right, adenosine monophosphate. Here adenosine diphosphate. Right. So during the formation of argininosuccinate or argininosuccinic acid by the combination of citrulline with aspartic acid, one ATP molecule is utilized. This reaction is catalyzed by argininosuccinate synthetase enzyme. Right. Now this argininosuccinate splits into fumarate or fumaric acid, fumarate, and arginine. Argininosuccinate splits into fumarate and arginine by one enzyme, that is argininosuccinate lyase enzyme. Right. Now this arginine hydrolyzed. It is hydrolyzed to produce urea. H2N yeah, this is the formula of urea. Now this arginine hydrolyzed to form urea and ornithine amino acid by one enzyme, that is called arginase enzyme. Right. Yeah, this is about urea cycle. Once again I am repeating, in the first step, one amino acid converted into glutamate by transamination process. Transamination means the transfer of one amino group from amino acid to another amino acid, right, which enters into the mitochondrial matrix. Now this glutamate split into alpha ketoglutamate and NH4. By combining with ATP molecules and HCO3 minus, it is converted into carbamoyl phosphate. Now this carbamoyl phosphate readily combines with ornithine. In the presence of ornithine transcarbamylase enzyme, citrulline is produced, which escapes into cytosol of hepatocytes and combines with aspartic acid by utilizing one ATP. And in the presence of argininosuccinate synthetase enzyme, argininosuccinate is produced. Right. Now this argininosuccinate splits into fumaric acid and arginine by argininosuccinate lyase enzyme. Now this arginine hydrolyzed to form urea and ornithine once again in the presence of arginase enzyme. So like this ornithine is recycled to continue one more urea cycle or ornithine cycle, right. But during ornithine cycle, you remember 3 ATP molecules are utilized. 2 ATP molecules are utilized in the mitochondrion and 1 ATP molecule utilized in the cytosol, right. This is about ornithine cycle. It is also referred as Krebs-Encelete cycle, right. Yeah, so far we have discussed about ornithine cycle. Urea is a chief nitrogenous substance in certain animals like earthworms, land amphibians, and mammals. But you remember aquatic animals mostly excrete ammonia. Land animals excrete either urea or uric acid, right. So earthworms, land amphibians and mammals are the examples for ureotelism. Such animals are ureotelic animals, right? Now, urea is 1 lakh time. Urea is 1 lakh times less toxic than ammonia. 1 lakh time less toxic than ammonia, right? To excrete urea, much water is not required. Much water is not required, right? That too, it is 1 lakh times less toxic than ammonia. This is the reason why some of the animals storing urea in their tissues. Some of the animals storing urea, particularly cartilaginous fishes. Yeah, cartilaginous fishes stores urea in their tissues. Stores urea in their tissues. Such condition is called as a physiological uremia. Physiological uremia. The physiological uremia, it is a condition seen in cartilaginous fishes like sharks. They store urea in their tissues. Yeah, they store urea in their tissues. For why they are storing urea in their tissues? To make their body fluid concentration isotonic to the surrounding medium, because cartilaginous fishes are marine animals. They living in marine habitat where the salt concentration is very high, right? So, body fluid concentration is hypotonic, but the surrounding medium concentration is hypertonic. They tend to lose water. So, in order to face the problems of water losing particularly, they store urea to make the body fluid concentration isotonic to the surrounding medium. Thereby, they prevent dehydration problems. Have you understand? Now, these cartilaginous fishes, they are storing urea in their tissues. Urea may damages the body proteins. So that these cartilaginous fishes, certain and some other saltwater fishes, even cartilaginous also saltwater fishes like saltwater fishes like teleosteus and some mollusks, cartilaginous fishes and some other saltwater fishes like teleosteus and molluscans store TMAO, trimethyl amino oxide. This is a trimethyl amino oxide. It is a metabolite produced from the trimethyl amino acid. Trimethylamine. It is a metabolite of trimethylamine, which is a common metabolite in many of the animals. So, this TMAO protects the proteins from the damaging effect of urea. The TMAO protects the body proteins from the damaging effects of urea. So, like this, they escape from protein damage by storing TMAO, right? Yeah, this is about ureotelism. Now, uricotelism. The animals which excrete uric acid as a chief nitrogenous substance, such animals are uricotelic animals. Uricotelic animals. Such method is uricotelism, right? Ammonotelism, ureotelism and uricotelism. Ureo means urea, they excrete. Urico means they excrete uric acid. Such animals are uricotelic animals. Uricotelism also seen in a terrestrial habitat. Terrestrial habitat. Uric acid. Uric acid is insoluble in water. Which is insoluble in water. But which is readily soluble in water? Ammonia. Ammonia is readily soluble in water, but which is insoluble in water. That too, production of uric acid requires much energy. Much energy is required. Much energy is required to produce uric acid. It is a terrestrial habitat adaptation. It is a kind of adaptation in terrestrial habitat to production of uric acid. Much energy is required, which is insoluble in water. So, the animals which excrete uric acid in the form of dry pellets. In the form of dry pellets. Right. So, they excrete a semi-solid paste. They excrete uric acid in the form of dry pellets or semi-solid paste. You once remember bird droppings, bird excretory material that looks like a semi-solid paste, a dry pellet, right? Which is least toxic. When we talk about the toxicity of nitrogenous byproducts, ammonia is the most toxic substance, and the next place goes to urea, and the least toxic is uric acid. Ammonia is more toxic, next place goes to urea, and the least toxic is uric acid, right? Which animals are source? Ureotelism. Land arthropods, like insects, land arthropods. Reptiles, aves, and land arthropods. These are the uricotelic animals. Uric acid helps the animals to survive on the terrestrial habitat, because for them water scarcity is there. There is a more water scarcity. So, uric acid play a very important role in the survival of the terrestrial animals, particularly these animals, because for them availability of water is very less, right? This is about uricotelism. Tadpole larva. Tadpole larva of frog and aquatic amphibians. Tadpole larva of frog and aquatic amphibians, also ammonotelic. Ammonotelic, they excrete ammonia as a chief nitrogenous substance, right? Because they are living in the aquatic habitat. Now, come to excretory organs. Excretory organs. What are excretory organs? The organs which helps in elimination of nitrogenous substances from the body are named as excretory organs. Various kinds of excretory organs are found in animal kingdom. In some animals, simple tubular tubular structures are present in some animals. In some animals, compound tubular structures. Compound tubular structures are present in the form of kidneys. In the form of kidneys. These excretory organs mostly helps in maintenance of ionic and fluid volume and also helps in excretion of nitrogenous wastes. So, in higher animals, the primary function of excretory organs is to eliminate nitrogenous substances from the body, right? But in lower animals like invertebrates, these excretory organs are primarily concerned with ionic and fluid volume regulation, that is called osmoregulation, right? Now, various kinds of excretory organs. First one, protonephridium. This is not a new information. We have already discussed in the previous class, right? In the first intermediate, we have discussed already. Protonephridia, nothing but flame cells. These are the flame cells. The protonephridia are the network of, these are network of dead end tubes. Dead end tubes and having a cluster of flame cells. Cluster of flame cells are flame bulbs. Flame bulbs. See the diagram. This is a flame bulb. It looks like a bulb, right? These are pseudopodia. Pseudopodia. And a cluster of cilia projected towards the lumen. Cluster of cilia projected towards the lumen. You know, cilia arises from the microtubule. Microtubule, right? Yeah, this is lumen. This is lumen. You know, due to beating of cilia, a flame-like appearance is produced. A flame-like appearance is produced. That's why these are named as flame cells. Flame cells. Here, excretory granules are present in the cytoplasm. Yeah, these are excretory granules. Excretory granules. Yeah, this is the structure of a flame bulb or a flame cell. So, it is a network of blind and dead end tubes having a cluster of flame bulbs or a cluster of cellular units called flame cells, right? These protonephridia are seen in examples. Flat ones. Seen in flat wounds like planaria, right? Next, some annelids, rotifers. Rotifera is a minor phyla. It is a minor phyla. You know, these are generally referred as wheelworms. Wheelworms. So, some annelids, rotifers, flatworms, right? These are the examples. These are the animals having protonephridia as an excretory organ, right? Next, second one, nephridia. We have already discussed three types of nephridia in the phylum Annelida. So, nephridia are the tubular structures. These are tubular structures immersed or embedded in the coelomic cavity. immersed or embedded in the coelomic fluid, right? These nephridia mostly found in annelids like earthworms, right? So earthworms having three types of nephridia we have already studied in the first intermediate: pharyngeal nephridia, integumentary nephridia, and the septal nephridia. Three types of nephridia are the tubular structures. They embedded in the coelomic fluid. From the coelomic fluid, they collect nitrogenous wastes like urea, and released into the lumen of the alimentary canal. Released into the lumen of the alimentary canal, right? Yeah, earthworm source nephridia. These are primarily concerned with excretion of nitrogenous substances, and secondarily concerned with osmoregulation. And I forgot to tell, protonephridia are primarily concerned with osmoregulation. You remember, I'm writing here. They primarily concerned with osmoregulation. What is osmoregulation? Maintenance of ionic and fluid volume, water balance and ionic balance, salt balance. Primarily concerned with osmoregulation, flame cells, right? But nephridia primarily concerned with excretion, secondarily concerned with osmoregulation. Yeah. Now Malpighian tubules. These Malpighian tubules are the blind tubular structures. These are blind tubular structures freely leads into coelomic cavity. They leads into coelomic cavity at one end. That means they freely hangs down into the coelomic cavity at one end, but at another end, they leads into digestive tract. Digestive tract we have already discussed the Malpighian tubules in the excretory system of cockroach, Periplanet americana, right? So these Malpighian tubules are the blind-ended tubules. There are nearly 100 to 150 Malpighian tubules at the junction of midgut and hindgut of alimentary canal of cockroach. These Malpighian tubules freely hangs down into the coelomic cavity. From they collect the nitrogenous wastes, mostly uric acid, and discharged into the lumen of the digestive tract, right? It is a method of water conservation. So Malpighian tubules not only helps in elimination of uric acid, they also helps in maintenance of ionic and fluid volume regulation, osmoregulation. So Malpighian tubules primarily helps in excretion and secondarily helps in osmoregulation. Examples: tracheate arthropods, like insects, tracheate arthropods, right? Next, the fourth one, antennary glands. Antennary glands are green glands. These are the paired structures. structures found or lie at base of antennae. Base of antennae. You know, antennae are the sense organs. These are found in the arthropods. Found in the arthropods. So at the base of the antennae, a paired structures are located, named as antennary glands or green glands. These antennary glands or green glands are primarily concerned with excretion and secondarily concerned with elimination, regulation of water and ionic balance. That is called osmoregulation. Right. Examples. These are seen in crustaceans. You know, crustacea, it is a class of phylum Arthropoda. Crustaceans like prawns and crabs. Prawns and crabs. Right? Yeah. Next, coxal glands. Coxal glands are the excretory organs found in spiders and scorpions. Spiders and scorpions. You know, both are belongs to class Arachnida. Both are arachnids. Arachnida, it is a class of phylum Arthropoda. Right. Next, metanephridia. Metanephridia are renal organs. Metanephridia are renal organs. These metanephridia renal organs and pericardial glands. Pericardial glands, metanephridia are renal organs. These renal organs are nothing but kidney-like. These are found in molluscans. Mollusks like Pila, Unio, octopus. These are the various examples of phylum Mollusca. Metanephridia and pericardial glands lies around the heart. Lies around the heart. All these structures we already discussed in the previous class. Right? Yeah, these are various types of excretory organs seen in kingdom Animalia. Right? Yeah, dear students, please watch the video. This is a new topic. We started today only, and carefully watch the video and write down the running notes, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.